So good to see y'all today. Y'all looking good. It's going to be a good day. From the front row to the back row. Y'all are looking amazing today. And I got good things in store. I want to ask you, does any of that resonate? Do y'all like the online shoppers? Do you ever buy stuff and you're just like, what was I thinking? Yeah, it's just the junk fest. If you know me, if you know my story at all, I have a story of a lot of my life got wasted. And a lot of my life got wasted, and I'll just cut right to the chase, was looking for fulfillment in other people and other things and other activities. Looking for fulfillment in what I could do or what I could be better at or the friends that I could have or the things that we could do together. Does that resonate with anybody else? Like if I had the right friends and if I was in the right places. And I remember in junior high. I don't remember below. No, I do. The guy with the green gum. I love the Concordia Bank. I wear their green gum out because I'm getting over a childhood problem. I remember going back as far as the lower elementary when they actually had stuff you could climb on, fall off, break your arm on kind of toys in the playground area. And I couldn't remember. I even know this guy's name. I'd love to see him find Jesus now. But I can remember sitting there playing. He was a little bit older than me. It was him and some other guy. Man, I can't remember who that other guy was. But I remember them swinging over a tire swing, hanging upside down. They were a little older, a little bit of a bully, but I wanted to be their friend because I never could figure out where. I remember in lower elementary, I never could figure out where people got the cool green gum. I don't know if you remember this, but when I was a kid, it was like to see somebody chewing gum and it was that bright green. It was like that was the epitome of coolness. And I would buy pack after pack after pack. Well, actually, that would take like months and months because my mom didn't give me a lot of gum. But so every chance I could, though, I would stack a little bit up and get it here and there. And I'd always get upset because I'd come back without the right gum. This was back in who remembers the Superstation in Vidalia? Remember the Chevron, right, when you went on the cross street, had the fried chicken, you go around the back, had all those tables where nobody ever sat? Yeah, the Superstation. It had the cool gum, but I never could find it. So anyway, they would blow bubbles, pop in my face, and I was always jealous. I just thought, man, if I could have that green gum, I would be in the cool club. And true story. That just came to me, by the way. Tell you how deep this stuff goes. Then I can remember stepping into the upper elementary. And I remember getting into the upper elementary, and it was there was people who played chase, and there were people who played GoBots. This was GoBots and Transformers before Transformers took over. And GoBots was for people who could not quite afford Transformers. You know, it's kind of the step down to still be cool. And I remember playing with some people. And ironically, this guy, his parents come here to church today. How cool is that, how God makes connections? And but he took me in, but the whole time I was wanting to be over there with that club where the girls chase the guys. I wanted to be in that club. And I remember they were a little bit older. I was 4th grade and they were 5th grade. And I was just thinking, man, I wish I could get over there and get chased by them instead of playing GoBots with you. But you'll take me in, so I'll hang. And so anyway, and I remember rolling on up to the junior high, and this is before they tried to segregate coolness. And there was the places that different people sat in different places. And we got into the junior high, and there was this area where it used to be picnic tables between the 8th grade building and 6th grade building over here in the concrete. And I was the guy who was over there running around by the bathrooms playing chase still, okay? And so I remember thinking, if I could ever be one of those guys that just, let me show you. It's so cool. Well, I'll get down like this. This is how cool they were. When you got to 8th grade, it was like the epitome of coolness. And so if you were 6th grade and really cool, you got in with them. They would get over there on the picnic benches at recess, and they would do this. While we were playing chase like some little kids, you know, out in the dirt, and they would sit, and it was cool because you were really cool if you could sit on the table with your feet on the bench and sit like this. And I kid you not, it was like, that was my desire. This sounds foolish, but some of y'all are going like, I remember thinking that. I know how I can see it in your eyes. It was always like, if I could just be accepted, then I would finally have some value. I would feel cool, and I would fit in. And then it rolled all the way up to the high school, and there I go again. You can see a progression. I'm always the guy trying to work myself in. And no matter where I found out, though, well, I'm going to share one more story, and then I'll share that. But I remember I got to sit on, there was some people who came to church here. And they were just kind of obligated to be nice to me, I guess. They could still be mean, but because I went to church, and they were like 4 grades older than me, but it was kind of my in, you know, when you're in 9th grade, you're looking for somebody to kind of come and hide up underneath a little bit and to get in. And so we sat on the bench out front, way out front, and we pretended like we were cooler than anybody else, and that's why nobody else could sit up there. But the whole time I was thinking, if I could get back in there with the The quad's in the middle of the buildings. And I was like, that's where the really cool people are. That's where the cheerleaders still chase the guys. You know, that's where, if I could get back into that area, that's what I would finally get there. And literally, this is a ridiculous thing. I'm really just playing this out in front of you right now. This is so not prepared. And I am playing out my mental thing. I'm finally reliving it. That I'm looking back now, and I'm realizing, you know what? I was willing to sell anybody short to get what I wanted to get to somewhere else. I was willing to use you for a season. As cruel as that sounds, if you'll take me in, then I'll stay here. But I'm going to tell you what, if they'll take me, I'll drop you on a dime. Because I think what I need is right over there. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I know y'all are all the best friends of everybody. I get that. But just, remember the jerks out there. So, and finally I did, and I finally just managed to get back there. It was a progression, though. This is going to be the funny part of the story, because there was a progression. But there was a friend of mine a little bit older, and he started getting accepted over there. So he was my inlet, and he got in, and we couldn't quite sit where the cool people is a relative term. Please go with me on that. But where I thought the cool people were, and so he started drafting around there, and he was just kind of working his way in. And I thought, man, here's my chance. So I'd go and we'd sit on the bench like a little ways away from the cool people, and we were too cool for anybody else to sit around. That's why we sat by ourselves. And finally was sitting, and I can remember sitting there one day. Funny part of the story, when you're trying to get to the place of cool, you get pooped on a lot. I remember Bird pooped on me one day, and he laughed, and the next day it pooped on him. I was like, see, it's always poop on you when you're trying to use other people to get to places that you think you need to be. And so, anyway, I managed to, if I could drop names right now, y'all would laugh so much more. But anyway, but I can't. So anyway, finally we got into that area of where I thought the epitome of coolness was. It took me like 3.5 years to get there. But finally got to where the epitome of coolness was in my mind. And, I'm looking back now, and I don't remember anything that great about getting there. I remember getting there and then thinking everybody was a jerk. But I thought it was still going to bring some kind of value. Isn't it amazing? What I'm saying, I'm just kind of trying to use an illustration. Isn't it amazing how we can just waste our life? I just gave you that's 10 years. I gave you at least, and it may have been younger than that, but I remember 10 years of just striving to get to what I thought was going to be it. Isn't it amazing the amount of time we can just waste our life chasing what we think is going to bring fulfillment, and then when we get there, even though we've been pooped on in the process, it still ain't all that good when we get there. Has anybody else been on that journey? People, the stories go a lot further, but we'll just stop right there. And what I want to do is I want to show you something today. Today, I have a jar full of money. And I can't afford all of you, so I put 20s on the outside to make you think it's a bunch of 20s. Over here I have an empty jar. And so since I can't afford all of you, I want you just to kind of mentally just kind of go here with me, okay? Let's just kind of do a little role play, all right? It's not going to be real, but, if I were to give every single person in here to say, you know what, I have a 20, you can get one, don't be stingy, you can get one, but a $20 bill for every single person in here. And for y'all, they're like, I'm too cool for 20. Well, up it to whatever makes you happy that you'll sell your soul to get up here and get and take. So what we have, though, we have a jar loaded with money. We have an empty jar. And I'm asking you, just don't play tricks in your mind. Don't go over churchy on me. Don't try to think reverse psychology. You will just shoot yourself in the foot. And we were in the church. And I said, hey, all right. And just pretend y'all were going to go alone. Okay, nobody's going to be so cool to say, oh, I don't need that. And I said, hey, on your way out, everybody get in one line or the other, and you can have everything that's there. Whatever is there, you get to have your large, big part of it. Let me ask you, today, if you were to come and if you were coming and we were getting in this line, which line would you get in? You have line 1 or line 2? That's it. And whichever one you choose, there's no swapping. You're in it. Which line would you choose? I would choose 1. Yeah, why? Because some people came here saying, I trust the Lord's going to give me gas to get home. You're going to get in line 1. It's the reality. Line 1. There is one stipulation to this, though. When you get up to your spot and you're next in line, before you grab yours out, all you have to do is tell me why you chose this line. Just wine. Nothing else. And I'm going to leave that money there, and I'm just going to leave you there, and we'll come back to it later. I want to ask you today, consider of all that we do in life, 100% of people that have the privilege of growing older and looking back, of all that we do in life, 100% of people that had the privilege of growing older, that had the privilege of getting to that place in life where it's like it's ending and can look back and review life and review all the places we've done and all the places we've been, we'll have one or two overwhelming thoughts will come to our mind as we get near the end of our life. And I say this isn't theoretically, this is just truth. There's studies, there's surveys, this question's been asked, and it's a revolving question and a revolving answer. And here's what will happen at the end of our life if we had the privilege of not being caught by surprise and living a life all the way to our way old years till we just kind of wear out. We will look back over our life, and every single one of us, though we may be so diverse right now, we will all come to a common ground. And we will all come with either one or two statements that we can say over and over and over and over again. Nobody has to practice. Nobody has to build it up. It will just be our language. And this is what it will be. It will be we will have either statement number one, we will look back over all of our life, and we will say, I wish I had. And you just fill in the blank of whatever comes in after that. Or we'll look at it and say, you know what? I am glad I did. And the statements that you say and that we say will have a similar echo for every person we touch along our journey throughout life. Every person that we have crossed their path at some point in our life, because of what we get to declare in that moment, will have an impact, will have a reflex on what they also declare. They will also either be saying, either I wish you had, or I'm glad you did. And they will continue saying this. And whether we get there and we say, I wish I had, or I'm glad I did, in some instances, as of today, it's over. It's done. Whatever is up to this point, you may look back at this point of your life as of Sunday, July 1st, and say, I wish I had. Whatever is done is done. But we all, since we're all here today and we're all sucking air at the moment, we all have the opportunity for the remainder from this day forward to change our statement, to have a new saying. If we said, I wish I had, we can now go from this day forward saying, I'm glad I did. If we said, I'm glad I did, you know what? We can continue rocking that on from this day forward. Several years ago, there came out a movie about a man. He got real famous, and I'll kind of separate some of my age brackets in some of this. I don't know. But there became a man who became real famous. He did some neat things that really didn't do a whole lot, but it made him famous. He even helped a guy one time buy a shrimp boat. He had a good friend named Lieutenant Dan. And he made this saying very famous that continues to permeate our culture. And he went like this. One day as he's sitting on a bench, his name was Forrest Gump, and he said this very famous saying that I think is quotable. And it says, my mama always said, life, you never know. Isn't it amazing how we feel like you got to try to say it like he says it? He got paid to say it. Okay? But you never know which one you're going to get. And so as truthfully and as silly as it sounds, you know what the reality is? It sounds silly, but when we break it down, isn't that what many of us live by? Well, this is just a life that I've been given. We all have different lives. Some are favored and some are not. If you'd grown up the way I grew up, or grown up where I came through, been through what I've been through, experienced what I've been. But what if Forrest's mama is wrong? And what if life is not like a box of chocolates at all? Some people in here, you're too young to even know about the box of chocolates because you got smart enough not to buy those nasty things anymore. All you know about is Hershey's and Snickers and Kisses and stuff. But what if life is not like a box of chocolates and your life is not what you have been given? But what if the flip of it is that our life is actually more like a treasure chest? And we have this treasure chest, and we've also been given a key. And all the responsibility we have is just to simply put the key in the hole and unlock the box. That's all we got to do. And so if we got, no matter what this wealth of treasure you have, we all have, do you realize no matter who you are, no matter the background, the foreground, the right now ground, do you realize right at this very moment, every single person in here has this treasure chest that you carry? Like you all, to some degree, even whether you say, like, oh, I'm just really not that good at anything, I really don't have anything to offer. Even if you say you don't, let's survey. Let's find out if you're lying to yourself, and we'll make it transparent. Have you ever, whether it was asked for or not, have you ever given someone else advice? Asked for or not. You know what? Then by that alone declares, you know what? I feel like I have something to give. Something that somebody else needs. I have this wisdom. Maybe you have this treasure chest. In this treasure chest, there's a great wealth. It's a wealth of experiences. There's learned knowledge. There's wisdom at some level from either what we have been through, what we have done, things we have learned along the way. But as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, this treasure chest is so much more than the average person. Do you realize this? Because here's what happens. Because we have, as a follower of Christ, you have a hope to attach every single experience to. You have a hope to apply every wisdom for, and have a hope to place every action towards. And if all we do is we go through life and we just collect and we hold and we collect and we hold and we collect and we hold and we collect and we hold and then we die, guess what happens with all those experiences that God gave on purpose and all those instances that just randomly happened that were God moments and all the things you learned and acquired throughout time. And if we just hold and we take in and we take in and we take on and then we die, you know what happens? It all dies with us. But if we give it away, it lives way beyond us. Have you ever heard of a guy named George Washington, for instance? Somebody who gave away what he took in. Ever heard of a guy, perhaps, I really wanted to set this up with a team to shut the lights down at this point, but you ever heard of a guy named Thomas Edison? Yeah, what we're enjoying, even if you're in your car, you're enjoying what he gave away. You ever heard of a guy, I don't know, we got some people that we know by first, they gave so well, we only know them on a first name basis. You know, the kind of friends like you never even take the time to know their last name because you know them so well, the first name's good enough. People like Peter, Moses, Noah. There's a guy, the Bible tells about a guy named Joshua. Tell us about this one really cool guy. We know nothing great he did. But evidently what he did was so great and so giving that God found it worth recording. And this is what it says. His name was Enoch. And it says he walked with God and he was no more. Just, God's like, you know what? Man, we so close. I don't want to leave you on earth anymore. How about I just sweep you up today? All right. That's all. We don't know what he did, but evidently it was so significant that it earned his name to be recorded that we still even know about him today. What I'm saying is what we give always, this is what we celebrate, this is what we always come together on, is what we give is what lives beyond us. We love the people who gave, right? Well, even in the midst of our seeking, we're looking for people who are giving. Whether it was me, I was looking for somebody who would give green gum, who would give a kiss chase, who would give a seat on the bench, whatever it may be, to all the way up to things that are much greater that pertain to eternity and life. Let me give you an illustration. The Bible illustrates this in Matthew 25. Check this out. We'll just kick off with a couple of verses. Perhaps you've heard this before. It says, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants, and he entrusted his money to them while he was gone. And he gave 5 bags of silver to one. He gave 2 bags of silver to another. He gave 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it, catch this, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. And then he left on his long trip. He divided it according to their ability. Now, right there, I mean, this is an easy place that he could have just simply said, I gave 1 5, I gave to 1 2, I gave to 1 1 because I had a little bit to spare and I just hoped for the best. But regardless, whether it was the 5-bag guy or the 2-bag guy or the 1-bag guy, they all, whether they knew it or not, their master knew very well, they all had an ability. And so let's picture, let's put ourselves, let's go back into Bible times. If you're like, if you got saved like in the 1930s or something, you remember a book, an old Christian cartoon called Superbook, we kind of take our little trip. But let's go back into a little bit of, let's place ourselves there that day, okay? Let's place ourselves. We're standing in the group, and one of us is going to be 5, and one of us is going to be 2, and one of us is going to be 1. If you were in line that day, and you end up getting the one bag. Isn't it amazing how he's the one that got it last? What personality type are you when you get that one bag? Are you inclined to be hopeful of the outcome? Maybe you've been like me and you know what it's like when you're that last one picked. Or are you inclined to be hopeful, or did you just look and go, 5, 2, 1, 5, 2, 1? Are you inclined to look at the master and say, you know what? I'm too useless to do anything with this. I must just be too poor and not talented. I have nothing to offer because he only gave me one. I must not have much I can do because I only have one bag. And because I do only have one, let's just be realistic. If I've only got one good thing going, then I really don't have anything going. I mean, one day, are you inclined to think like this, like I would be, well, one day I'm going to have 5 bags. And when I have 5 bags, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I know the Lord is going to come through one day, and I'm going to have 5. And when I have 5, this is what I'm going to do. You know what? But right now, the reality is where I'm at, I only have 1. And so, you know what? In fact, I'm going to even try to find a way to grow my 1 to 2 in a safe way. So then I can hold 1 and use 1. I can hold 1 and use 1. And then maybe I can use my 1 enough to multiply. But if something all goes bad on that, then at least I've got my 1 that I didn't lose. Does this describe anybody in here, I wonder? I mean, so often, one bag people say things like this. One day I will have more, and I will do more, and I will do more because I have more. Yet the reality is the person who uses none will gain no more. Because if we won't use what we have, then why should we have more to waste? If we won't use it now, you know what? The reality is we won't use it when we have more either. The issue isn't what we have. It isn't the amount. It isn't the ability. The issue is why we do what we do with what we have. The issue is why we do what we do with what we have. Well, how would you like to fill an essay out on that today? For every reason, for every response, for everything I say, this is why I do what I do with what I have. Let's continue on, verse 16. It says, the servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. That guy definitely sat on the cool bench. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work, and he earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. If you're the 1 bag guy, you're going, idiot. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I've earned 2 more. The master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Then the servant with 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man. I knew you harvested crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I don't really get this part, but I'm going to continue reading. I was afraid that I would lose your money. So I hid it in the earth. And look, I held it for you. You got it back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. Wait a minute. Let's look at this. The guy who gets 5, has 5, gets 5 more, and then is given more. The guy who has 2 turns it into 2 more, and then the master said, here's even more. And the day they stood in line receiving, I imagine it looked like 5 was a lot, right? Because when you've got 1 and the guy with the most only has 5, 5 looks like a big deal. But the master says, you've been faithful with this small amount. And so it looked like 5 was a lot. And 2 wasn't a lot. But hey, it was better than 1. Because if you got 1, it's basically like having nothing, right? Kind of like having $1, 1/4. Yeah, you can go on the dollar menu, but you can't pay for the tax, so you're still hungry, right? But the master called 5 small compared to what he desired to give. And he called 2 small according to his plan. But look at what 5 and 2 did. This is the irony of it to me. They just invested it. They just found a bank with good return. Like, hey, they'll double the money back by the time he gets back in town. Sure, drop the money off in the bank. I'll let you know when my master gets back. I'm going to pull the money back out. Okay, cool. And go on about their business. You know, maybe they were a little more entrepreneur about them. Maybe they went to like some Ollie's or Dirt Cheap or some kind of way and found something a little bit cheaper and then went on eBay and sold it for full price. While the air conditioner's blowing on them and they got their favorite show going on the TV and they're just clicking. Sold, and up in their reviews. You know, I mean, just looking easy. They've got it going on. But the one bad guy tells in verse 18, this guy, he went out and he dug a hole. If you're going to bury money, I don't care even if it's a little bit of money. You want to make sure nobody's looking, right? So evidently this guy had to figure out a place. He had to get sneaky with it. He had to get crafty. You know, I'm willing to bet that he probably sweated a lot because then the master's a good master, so you know he's not showing up in the wintertime where it's going to feel good to break a sweat. It's going to be good. If you're going to make this bad, well, you're just going to sweat it out. So he's out there. You can picture him in the heat, you know, just digging and looking and hooking and crooking and digging and making sure nobody, and then, you know, maybe put 4, 5, 6 different fake holes to throw people off in case they come across it. Hides it in the ground. This guy, I mean, he might have got some sore muscles out of the deal. I mean, trying to dig a hole deep enough. Trying to put a hole in the right place where nobody would find it. And yet, of all the people, for the master to say is lazy, wicked, it's this guy. Now, in our society, that dude's hard working. That other lazy bum, they need to get out and do something. Let's continue on. Verse 27. Why didn't you just deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. And then he ordered, take the money from this servant and give it to the one that has 10. One more. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and those who have an abundance, and they will have an abundance. But those who do nothing, even what little they have, will be taken away. Can I say this? Each of you are incredibly wealthy. I can say you're wealthy financially. I can pull out all the statistical data of, you know, if you drove here in a car today, you're in the top 2% of the population of the world. But you really don't care about that, and you just blow it, and it means nothing to you. But you know what? You're financially wealthy. But can I tell you also? You're wealthy in wisdom. You're wealthy in talent. You have incredible riches. But how can I say this? However great it is now is small in comparison to what the master wants to do and wants to give to you. But if all we do is we live a life wishing what we had, saying if I had more talent and if I had more ability and if I had more friends and if I had more effect and if I had more influence and if I just had a little bit more joy and I had something more to be happy about and if I have more and if I had more and if I had more, then you know what? What you have, you will lose. And only what you give will actually be multiplied back. Challenging verse to me is Proverbs 13:22. It says, good, just good. We're not even going godly, just good. A good person leaves an inheritance to his grandchildren. This is something that really sinks into me, especially as I get older. Thinking, you know what, as time is going by and things are passing, and especially with the number of kids I have, I'm like, Lord, you got to show off. But not just to his children, but to his children's children. It's just an effect of give and receive and give and receive and give and receive that I have so much to give away. I don't believe it's only money, but I do believe it's money. Over the probably several years of our life, while we were going through all of these adoption journeys, Kelly and I, we ran to a lot of people. We met a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life and different countries even as well, various people in various places that were in this adoption community that were adopted and on journeys of their own wherever and whatever direction of it they were going. And you know what? And I witnessed over and over and over, there was extremely crazy characteristics of these people. These people would pretty much overall, with rare exception, most of these people were not wealthy in any bit. Most of them were purely adopted by faith. And though they would be in need of like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, they may need 10,000 by next week for some deadline or something. And in the midst of being totally busted and living on faith themselves, they would at the same time go on an Etsy or an eBay or a swap shop or something and buy something from another adoptive family that was in need, that was selling some $2 item for like 20 or 30 bucks, and would spend that $20 or $30 on a $2 item to support them, though they were in great need themselves. They had nothing to spare. But it never restricted them from what they gave. And as witnesses over and over and over, these people, they realized something. You know what? I think the heart of the community was they realized, you know what? I will never keep the very things that I hold on to, but I will never, ever be empty of what I give. And God's faithfulness is showed over and over and over and over and over again. Think about it. We've all been to funerals, right? I mean, at least one or two. We've all been to funerals. Isn't it true that the measure of the value of a person's life is always determined by how much that we give? People, we gather to celebrate because of the impact of what they gave and what it did for us. You know, for you though, let me ask you this. Let's personalize a little bit. What is it? What is it? Let's get challenging. What is it that if we're very just transparent, raw, honest, what is that thing that you feel so audaciously, radically, this isn't conjured up, this isn't like, oh, let me think where it fits. This is, you know when I'm describing this. What is it that you feel compelled to do, yet feel so inadequate to do? What is it you feel compelled to do, yet so inadequate to do? If you ever show up for a 9 o'clock service, right now, part of my life is 9 o'clock service. What is it you feel so compelled, yet so inadequate? It's not made up, not conjured up, not having to work this up. This is something that causes you guilt sometimes because you don't do, because you feel like you can't do, but yet you so burdeningly want to do. Does this make sense? It gets you down because you think, you know what, I'm just too inadequate. Maybe you think you don't have enough to offer. Even though it's like, I want to, but I just don't. I don't have anything of any value that would really make a difference. And I feel burdened. You see, the subject of giving and receiving, it would easily be talked about money oftentimes. And I believe that is completely 100% accurate. But here's what I've learned. Some people have lots of money, so they give abundantly in money, but won't give an ounce of time. Some people have lots of time, and so will give lots of time, but won't drop a dime because they feel it's inadequate on the other side. And both sides, for others, what we do, either side, we give one side a little more than we normally would because it removes the guilt of what we don't give. And both sides of that coin, and there's other elements in there, but both sides of that fail to realize that what we offer, can we just be honest, it's not really all that important. But it's the why I offer it or why I do not. It's the why I give. These jars up here. I need some more paper. These jars up here, they represent something a little greater. Let's take this money out of here. Let's replace it with something because money comes and goes. Let's be honest. Everybody in here is smart enough to realize money ain't going to make you happy by now, right? I mean, you're over 3 years old and gum just doesn't have the same zing when you buy it as it used to. Money has moved on. Come on. So let's take the money out and let's put something maybe that's a little more heart connecting with you. Let's say we're still going to fill this jar up with things that you can get in line to receive. Let's just say, you know what, perhaps maybe your thing is saying, I don't know, you're like, Danny, if I was going to be very honest, what do I feel what is it that I long for, that I feel that I'm don't have enough of that I really long to have right now? Well, I know you see me on Sundays, but man, I just wish I had some real friends. I don't care what bench they sit on. I just wish for some awesome friendship that would be encouraging to me, that would support, that we would be like-minded in the same direction, following Jesus, and somebody, because I just I get lonely. I'd like some real friends. You know what? Maybe for you it's like, you know what? We're gonna fill out another one here. We're gonna say hope. Danny, and just what I'm going through right now is completely overwhelming. And I get to go to church and I read my Bible and do all that, but the reality is I just feel hopeless on so many things. I'm tired of being down. I wish it was like a silver bullet or something I could get a shot of. I wish I had hope. I wish I could really live in that idea of hope. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it goes a little more sensitive. Maybe we step beyond it and we say, you know what? I just see all these smiling faces. I just wish I was loved. I just feel that I'm not, and I long to be loved, like the real kind of love, like somebody that puts me before them, and that does not hold record of my wrong, that rejoices in the truth of when seeing God doing good things. I just wish I knew what it was like to really be loved. I wish I had love. Maybe, you know what? Well, let's go for another one. You know what? You completely resonate with that. I got the burden, but I feel so inadequate. You know what? If I know God is faithful, I just wish I had some confidence. Just enough to get started. Just wish I had confidence that I would get up off my rump and actually just make a move, that I could do it and not even care who notices, pass or fail, whatever, that I could just have the confidence to make the step and to actually trust like that. You know what? Maybe for you, I don't think we should skip it. Maybe it is. It's money. Henny, there's so much thing going on, so many other things I need to do. But I tell you what, I can't keep my head above water right now. I just wish I had some money. I wish you put that stuff back in the jar and just give it to me, I wish I had money. By the way, the coolest thing is I didn't have money in the first service, and somebody came to me between the first and second and said, "You want some money to put in that jar?" I said, "Yeah." And they emptied their wallet on me. Told them, I said, "Remember and get it back from me or I'll spend it." I really won't. I'll lose it. But that's what I do with things. I lose them. But anyway, maybe let's add another one in there. Let's put one more. I am really writing these words out, by the way. This is not just illustration. And let's say, you know what? I wish I actually had forgiveness. Like, the kind of forgiveness like my life has changed, but that my children would forgive me for who I was for all those years. And would really believe in what God has done in me now. I wish forgiveness would come into my life and take over my household. I wish, I really, there's so many things I wish I wouldn't have said that I did say, that I did, that I wish I wouldn't have done. But you know what? I wish I wouldn't have done those things, but I wish I really was forgiven, had forgiveness. And can I tell you something? I know the kind of church we are. I'm going to hide this. Just kidding. I was talking about you. Just kidding. Just because you spoke out and nailed me and embarrassed me. Just got issues. But the way to receive, I hope we are that kind of church. The way to receive is not in this line. The way to receive is in this one. The way to receive is in this one. In the empty line. You know what, the way we struggle to receive, whether it's from bubble gum to benches to girls, the way that I wasted so much of my life chasing and pursuing was always I was going for the jar that I could see that had what I needed, the people that had what I needed, whatever it was that if I could just get there, if I could just get that, if I could just have what they have. I thought, but I found out that God had a totally different direction. He said, you know what, it's not that you go to gain what you need, you give in the direction you feel compelled yet feel inadequate, and watch me give back unto you. So if I need friends, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a friend. If I need some hope, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look for somebody. I'm going to give hope away freely. I'm going to tell you, this is so simplistic, and people laugh at me, but I dare you. Prove me wrong on this. You will see it. Walk through a store and just start high-fiving random people and watch them come alive. I'm telling you, you will brighten somebody's day. You will you never know where that high five is going to land. Bring some hope. You know what? I need hope. Forget trying to get hope. I know I've got hope in Jesus. I'm going to go physically give hope to somebody. Oh, I need some confidence. Let me find somebody talking a little bit down on themselves. Let me find somebody just being a little bit passive. I'm about to throw some confidence in them. Let them know that God has gifted this earth with them and put them here, that they carry a wealth and a treasure, that they are his masterpiece. And when they discover Jesus Christ, according to Ephesians 2:10, they will discover the good works that he planned for them to do long time ago. I need love. You know what? I'm just going to start loving people. It's that simple. Do I need forgiveness? You know what? Well, who do I need to forgive? It's not about what I can get. What can I give? I believe in this. Hey, you ain't said money yet. Yeah, that too. I'm going to give in the direction of where the need is. I'm going to give in the direction of even where the lack is. Whatever it is I need, I'm going to give in that direction, because the way to receive is not in the gain. The way to receive is in the give. I'm going to give in the direction that I feel compelled and drawn to, yet feel inadequate in. I'm going to give in that direction over and over and over. In this, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're saying this: God, I trust you more than I trust me. I will give even if I feel like I'm a one-bag guy, because I know that even one bag, even the largest number I know is still small compared to what you're going to multiply back to me. And the numbers mean nothing to you. They only mean to me. So my largest number is still small in comparison to what you want to turn over and multiply if I'll just give. Think about it. I mean, God's not say, well, it's all about what if I just don't have that much? I don't have that much. Have you ever considered that God only had one son? And he gave his only one. Talk about the ultimate. Let's look at this. Well, if you've even been born in America, you probably heard John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him would not perish, but would have eternal life. God gave his one, but you know what? He gave his one, trusting for a very large return. He allowed Jesus to die so that many, many, many may live. He gave his only, he gave his best. How can we ever hold back our giving to a God who loves and does like that? I mean, God had no problem giving what he had, even though it was his only. And so, well, of course, he is God. Well, of course, God doesn't have trouble giving. He's God. He can totally change the system in any kind of way. He can control it. But, the issue is not, and we say, of course he can do it. But the issue is not, it is the quantity, but it's not the quantity in the large scale. The issue is the heart. Because a pure heart gives in trust, and a pure heart always gives in love. A wicked and a lazy heart, though, when we're wicked and we're lazy, we consider ourselves the wisest steward of what we currently hold. So let me ask you this. What is the challenge? What is the talent that you hold? What is the talent that you hold? That perhaps you'll sell it for a service, but man, you could reach people by giving it as well to people who can't afford your service. Or maybe you just land in the right place at the right time, and they can't afford it, but you still bless them anyway. What is it that God has wired you with? What is the wisdom giving you? What is the lesson? Where has life brought you from? Where has Jesus brought you out of? What is the transformation that he has done? Because you know what? I'm going to tell you, if you'll begin to share that and use that and allow God to use that for his kingdom, the outreaches next weekend is a perfect place for it. Or we just go into a neighborhood. I'd love to do this more, but right now this is the amount of people that are involved, so this is all that we can do it at the time. More people are involved, you know what? We'll crank it out and we'll see a greater effect, because it always, the more people that give, we see this over and over and over throughout the church, the more people that give, the more people get multiplied to the kingdom. It's happened. So the multiplication is always in according to the number that's being given. So all you got to do, you say, well, I don't have nothing to give. You're sitting in a seat, you have something to give. If you thought it was worth your time to be here, I'm going to tell you what, it's worth a whole lot more of your time being there. Because here we receive, and there we get to give. And we see families healed. We see marriages happen. We see immorality broken. We see lives saved and transformed. And we see it go way beyond that neighborhood, because of families in that neighborhood that reach other families, that reach other families, that reach other families. And some people in here are nodding because you're going, yeah, I'm one of those. Hey, it's a simple way to give and let it be multiplied. Paul said it like this. I love in Philippians, talking about giving. In Philippians 2, Paul has been pointing people to Jesus. He's been putting their attention towards God, toward their ability to be completely fulfilled in Jesus Christ, even if they have zero else. And he says, this is what Paul says of himself as he's pointing to everybody, saying, I don't care if you have nothing, you will be completely fulfilled in Jesus Christ, allowing him to be your all-sufficiency. And this is what he says in Ephesians, Philippians 2:17. Paul turns around and he goes, but you know what? Even if I'm just saying all this and it has no return, I'll rejoice, even if I lose my life, pouring it out like a liquid offering to God. Just like your faithful service is an offering to God. And I want all of you just to share that joy. Paul says, you know what? I find more joy even if it causes me to die, pouring out everything I have, because to do so is for no greater purpose than as an offering to the God who poured out his life for me. Today, if you honestly would stand in line number 1, by natural response, I hope to move you over to line number 2. If we by default stand in line number 1, I hope to make the new default move over to line number 2. Because while we long for the things of number 1, can I tell you what? God will handle every detail of what we desire and what we think we need in number 1 if we'll just continue to be faithful with line number 2. Because he's already given all of that. But it's when we give that we get to experience what he's already given us, because it finally gets to come alive and live through us. Not just a treasure to hold, a treasure to give. Not just a love to hold, a love to give. Not just a forgiveness to have, but a forgiveness to give. Not just a confidence to have, but a confidence to give. Not just feeling the honor of being loved in God's sight to have, but also letting others experience the life and the honor of being loved by their Heavenly Father. I can't think of a better way to invest our life. So let me ask you. Today, if you had started here, let's get the sensitive sides of you back out. If you had started here, could I encourage you to move over here? Could I encourage you to just begin giving in the direction that you feel lacking? Because that's where God is leading you to. And your cup will overflow. Your heart will overflow. Because it says, like Jesus said like this, when we begin to discover him, that when we believe on him as he is, out of our innermost being will flow rivers of living water. That's a terminology I can't even grasp, that it will be so much coming out that we cannot contain. And we'll dig off into that next week a little more so. But for today, if you came in here today, perhaps you were the person who would stand in line 1. Can I tell you why we stand in line 1? We get in line 1 because majority of the time, we just don't understand who Jesus is. And so since he can't fulfill me, I look for fulfillment in all the other places. Even in the context of a church, I look for fulfillment and I look for a get-by in everything around me, even if I have a religious experience without a relationship. And today, I just want to bring to the attention, maybe it's not necessarily a personality thing. Maybe it's not a greed thing and all that. We all have greed in us to some degree. We're born with a sin nature, but Jesus sets us free from that. But possibly it's just because, you know what? You've never had a real life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ by simply saying, Lord Jesus, I believe you are who you say you are, that you are the Son of God. You did give your life on the cross. You did raise from the dead, and in that, you paid for every one of my sins and wrongdoings 100%, and you took away the punishment of hell for a lifetime and eternity from me, and you gave me your eternal life. You transferred my lack for your fulfillment. You took away my emptiness to fill it with your fullness. And perhaps you just never come to that place. You've come to a religion, but never to a relationship. And today, I want to encourage you. I want to invite you with heads bowed and with eyes closed. With heads bowed and eyes closed. If today is the day where the Lord is dealing and saying, you know what? You've learned so much about me. Don't you think it's time to trust me with your life? You've read your Bible so many days. Don't you believe it's time that you allow me to bring the transformation that it's intended to bring? Perhaps today is the day that you came here for another church service, and it's the day that God is awakening and stirring your heart. Right now, it's that thump. It's that little bit of confusing feeling of, I've never felt this before. What's going on? And it's God saying, this is his love for you, that he poured out and poured out and poured out. And today is the day that you say, Jesus, I choose a relationship with you. The greatest gift that I can ever give is to give my life and trust into your hands for today and all of eternity.